Thanksgiving is 2 weeks away. It is crunch time, and all month long, we've been giving you some amazing videos on how to make the most of your Thanksgiving Day dinner. And today's video is all about 3 elegant, impressive, and delicious appetizers that not only can be made ahead, but they come together in minutes. Everyone loves them. And while they're satiating, they're not so filling that people won't have room for dinner. I mean, really, what more could you ask for? Hello, wine lovers. I'm Erin, the founder and Chief Sommelier here at the Wine Sisters, and welcome to our YouTube channel. This is the place where every week we show you how to eat, drink, and entertain like a pro. And entertaining is the name of the game this month. We are only weeks away from Thanksgiving, and all month long, we have been giving you some great videos on how to be the host with the most. If you'd like to see last week's video where we talked a little bit about getting together your checklist so you can have a stress-free soiree that, yes, you too will enjoy, just check out that video right here. It'll change your entertaining game, whether it's Thanksgiving or any dinner party that you throw. It's really just incredible. Okay, so today we're talking about really easy appetizers. These are those little munchies that you're going to put out when guests start arriving that they're going to enjoy with a little glass of bubbly. You can also see our recommendations for Thanksgiving wines right here as well. But for years, friends, we put out this overflowing and abundant and totally Instagram-worthy cheeseboard, which people just loved and gobbled up. Problem? People were too full to enjoy the dinner that we spent literal months planning, prepping, and then serving and making and all of those things. It was really disheartening. So I took a page out of the French book where we now take that cheese and we serve it at the end of the meal. And instead, what we offer to our guests when they arrive is something that's going to be satiating, something that's going to be delicious, but it's still going to leave room for dinner. So a proper appetizer, a proper aperitif, something to get them ready for the dinner. So Thanksgiving, obviously it's fall, we're keeping with the seasonality, and today I'm going to show you a gorgeous butternut squash and blue cheese soup. I'm going to show you an excellent white bean and rosemary dip. Excellent. And I'm also going to show you really easy, super elegant, and very impressive Parmesan cheese straws. And I'm going to show you how to do it right now. So with your Parmesan cheese straws, you can buy your pre-made frozen puff pastry. That's no problem at all. If you'd rather make it yourself, go for it. I like to keep things as streamlined as possible. But you're going to need to have some flour. You're going to need to have an egg that's been beaten with a little bit of water. Clearly, you're going to need Parmesan. All of the recipe, by the way, is below in the show notes. And a little bit of salt, some cayenne, and boop, some pepper. So into our Parmesan, this is going to be about a full cup of finely grated Parmesan. You can see how feathery light that is. I'm just going to add in a couple grinds of pepper. I like pepper a lot, so wait for it. It's going to take me a second. If I could whistle, I would. 1, 2, 3. That should take care of it. All right, so let's put that off to the side. I'm also going to put in just a pinch of salt. We don't need a lot because, of course, Parmesan is very salty, so just a little pinch will be fine. And a tiny pinch of cayenne. Now, this won't be enough to make it burning hot, just enough to give it a slight wink, a little tease of heat, where people will sort of say, oh, that gives it a little something, but an indefinable something. I used to have the very first cooking course I ever took. My teacher would always mix in the salt, pepper, and a little bit of cayenne, whether it was dusting over a roast chicken or adding it to a steak. That cayenne, just a tiny pinch, does give it a nice depth. Okay, so I'm just gonna mix this up with my clean and washed hands. Get that all mixed up and put that off to the side for later. I've got my egg, which I will also put off to the side, and the very important flour. Now this puff pastry just came out of the fridge, and it's important that you work with it when it's very cold. If it starts to heat up, it gets a little bit gluey and a little bit, it doesn't work the way you want it to. So I'm gonna give a nice flouring to my board, but I'm gonna roll this out to be about, I don't know, 11 by 8. Just give that a quick roll out. Okay, so we've basically rolled this out to about, I'm gonna say about an 11 by 8 rectangle. So now we can get to the fun part. Although I will say that rolling is quite meditative and it can even work out some frustrations. All right, so with our egg wash, now I said I brushed this or mixed this with a little bit of water. That's really quite ideal because if you were just to use the egg alone, the egg can get a little thick, which is ideal in some cases, but not in this one. We just want it to be really nice and light and airy. It's going to work not only as a way to brighten and help the crust get a little bit more golden, but it's also going to work as a type of glue that's going to help our Parmesan stick to it. So now, if you wanted to add other flavorings to your Parmesan, rosemary would be really nice. You know, you might want to try grating in a little bit of lemon, could be very good depending on the time of year. You could do a little bit of mustard powder, something like that. But anyway, we're just gonna do this. There, so it's all nice and shiny now, you can see that. And on 1/2, and so on 1/2, we're going to spread a generous amount of this Parmesan. I'm gonna say almost, probably about 3/4 of it. We're gonna leave some for the topping, but we're gonna leave a nice generous amount. So just get it all in there, just over half. You can smell it. It smells cheesy and peppery. I've also preheated my oven to 400 degrees, so that's getting nice and hot. So when I put this in there, it's going to be great. So we just spread that around over the 1/2, and now we're going to fold it like a book. If you had to make a lot, I suppose what you could do, I've done this before, is you could take one sheet and then layer it with a second sheet, but I find this just as easy and kind of a nice elegant way. Now, we're not going to roll out for stretching the dough. We're just gonna roll this out a little bit more just so the Parmesan gets into both sides and gets really in there nice and stuck in well. So just give that a little flattening, just like that. So the Parmesan should be in there really nicely. Okay, let's move this off to the side. I'm gonna give this one more egg wash, just really quick. You do want to work fairly quickly with puff pastry because again, you don't want it to warm up. If you find that you have to, you know, the doorbell rings or you need to take a break for some reason, you can pop this back in the fridge, and you should, just to make sure that it stays really nice and cold. But we're working pretty fast, so I don't think it's going to be too much of a difficulty for us. Just a nice little sheen. And so now with our knife, you could always use a pizza cutter if you felt like it. I'm just going to make this a really even book, but I'll just use these and have these for munching for myself later. I won't serve these as much. But we get a really nice, really even triangle, not triangle, a really even rectangle. So it really does look like a beautiful shape of a book right now. And I'm just going to do, I guess, about 1-inch strips. I'm going to cut it this way. I have in the past cut them lengthwise, and they do offer a certain amount of impressiveness when you serve them, but I find there's also an impracticality because puff pastry naturally, part of its appeal is to be very crumbly. That means it just keeps crumbling all over the place. So I think having these shorter, wider strips are actually a little bit better. I want to work quickly because as it starts to warm up, as you can see here, it's starting to get a little bit gluey, not bad. So I just want to work a little bit quicker because you want nice clean cuts. Now that this has the nice egg wash on it, it's also going to work really well for extra coatings of our leftover Parmesan and pepper mixture. So it's going to look really great. So all you need to do is onto a baking sheet, what I've got here, and don't be afraid, don't be precious about it. Puff pastry is actually surprisingly forgiving. All you need to do is give it a little twirl, press it into the side. Press down the end so it stays nice and twirly. And here's something really great. Well, I'm gonna pop them into the oven right away. I actually have done this before where you can leave this not forever, but for, you know, a little bit of time, 30 minutes, an hour. So you could set these up, put them in the fridge, and then when your guests arrive, have the oven preheated and bake them off right away. So that's a really nice time saver, and it means that you will not be the one stuck in the kitchen, right? You don't want to do that. You want to be out with your guests celebrating at your own party. But what I've also done with really good success is I've made these the day before, and they are, if you tightly seal them, they are really great. The next day, they are quite fine. So it's up to you whether you want to have, you know, that lovely aromatics of the baking puff pastry going through your house, which I really applaud you for. This one came undone a little bit. Press it down so it doesn't unroll. And if you wanted to, you could even take a little bit of egg wash and then like kind of glue it down so it stays like that. Again, just a little twirl, finishing these off, another little twirl. And what I might even do, really quick, no big deal, just do a little dotting of these. Again, just not a lot, just a tiny little bit of egg wash. You're not going crazy here, just a little bit. Mostly on the undersides that didn't have it before. And with our leftover Parmesan, waste not, want not, just do a final little coating. If you wanted to as well, you could put on poppy seeds or sesame seeds. Really, the world is your oyster. Get as creative as you'd like. Maybe 1 or 2 more grinds of pepper, because I do love pepper. You could even put on some big crystal Malden salt. And with these little bits and bobs, I'm gonna bake them off just so I can munch on them later, but I'm not gonna get too fussed about it. Just plop those there. Okay, I'm gonna put this into a 400-degree oven for about 15 minutes, leaving the light on to check on it occasionally to make sure it's not burning too much. And then I'm gonna be back with showing you how I plate our 3 awesome hors d'oeuvres. So my Parmesan twists have just come out of the oven and it smells great in here. Buttery and cheesy and toasty and baking. It's a really aromatic delight. The ASMR of olfactory, if you will. So what I've also put out here for my guests to enjoy, I've decided to have a little white bean and rosemary dip. I also include a little bit of garlic confit in here. Confit and garlic is super, super easy. I've even included it in a short, so you can see that short right here if you'd want to figure out how to confit garlic. But don't skip that step because it gives it a real depth and sweetness to this dip, which I absolutely love. And the recipe is written out below. You can link to it. It's on thewinesisters.com on our blog, but it comes together in 5 minutes. You don't want to miss that. And I also have this really great blue cheese and butternut squash soup. It's done in a gorgeous puree. The blue cheese adds a beautiful layer of that piquancy. It's really great, topped with a little bit of roasted pumpkin seeds and some other blue cheese. I've served it 2 different ways here. You can see I both have it in an espresso cup as well as in a shot glass. Either way, I couldn't decide which one I liked better, but maybe it's gonna be fun to mix and match. A little, old china teacup and a little shot glass, maybe a little sherry glass. It's a fun way to offer a little decent presentation. So that's absolutely exquisite. Now for my twists, and if they don't twist as twirly as you want them to, no sweat. Like, it's Thanksgiving. You have enough to stress over than your twist that maybe didn't twist quite the way you wanted them to. That's life. So just put a little bit like this. People can use these to dip into the dip. If you wanted to serve a little bit of radish or some nice little carrot on the side as well, put those out there a little bit. Add on obviously maybe 2 or 3 per person. You don't want to be chintzy. It's Thanksgiving. It's the time for generosity and hospitality. Maybe 2 or 3 cups, shot glasses, whatever you're using of the butternut squash soup per person. You can have the dip. A little secret tip for the dip for me, what I like to do is I like to have 2 or 3 bowls because it's dip, and as people go through it, it starts to look a little gross as you get to the dregs of the bottom. So rather than put out 1 big bowl, I have 2 or 3 smaller bowls. They're sitting in the fridge ready to go, and then I can just replace as necessary throughout the party. I do that with cheese boards as well. So if you want to see how I do cheese boards, just check out this video right here. And then we just layer out our Parmesan twists, and it's a really easy, really elegant. Serve it with a little bit of bubbly, and it's a perfect way to start your Thanksgiving day. So I hope you guys really enjoyed that. If you did, please leave us a really positive review. And if you want to ask a comment or ask a question about how you should tackle your Thanksgiving Day dinner, I'd love to hear what you're up to, and I promise I will get back to you as soon as I see those questions come in. So until next time, friends, hit that like, hit that subscribe so you can get alerted to when we drop a new video, which is every single week. And until then, enjoy your Thanksgiving preparations.